Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and this is my April wrap-up. So in April I read 10 books, which is definitely less than I read in March, but April was busy. So I obviously started my booktube channel, and with that I have to learn to, balance my time between reading and also filming and editing videos and being active on book Twitter and all of those things. So it's definitely taken a toll on my reading a little bit, but I've been loving it so far, and so I'm super excited to continue on going, and I'm still pretty proud of 10 books. And as I was reading, I actually also filmed my first 2 reading vlogs on my channel, which are both already up, so I will, for those books, I'll just kind of summarize what I was reading for those vlogs and then point you to those if you want more of my in-depth feelings on the books. But to wrap up my stats for the month, so it was kind of an average reading month in terms of quality of books and my ratings. So of the 10 books, actually 6 of them ended up being 3-star reads, which is very average. Didn't hate them, didn't love them. And then I had 2 2-star books and 2 4-star books. So I had no 1 stars, which is great, but I had no 5 stars. And of the 10 books, 5 of them I own physically and read physically. 2 of them I own physically, but I read them via audiobooks. 1 I read via an audiobook, but I do not own it, and then 2 of them were e-arcs that I read on NetGalley. So to get into the books, so the first 4 books that I read were books 2 through 5 of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book series, and I dedicated a whole reading vlog to this series, so I will link that like I said. But to wrap up my feelings on it, this was a super fun series to read, but it was nothing life-changing to me. I would definitely recommend it to fans of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants movies. The first book I actually read in March, so that's part of my March wrap-up, but books 2, 3, and 4 I ended up rating 3 stars, and book 5, the last one in the series, I ended up rating 4 stars. The next 4 books that I read were actually part of the Owls Magical Readathon, and again, I did a dedicated vlog to that, so I'm not going to go too in-depth in the books that I read for that, but they include Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is a dystopian book, a classic dystopian book about a world where the government makes test tube babies. Nobody's born naturally anymore, and some people are kind of questioning whether that's the right way to do things. I ended up rating this 2 stars. I did not love it. I really love dystopian books, and I think that there are a lot that do it better, both in classic novels like 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. I like both of those a lot better than this one. And in modern day dystopians, I think there are better books out there. And then I also read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This is a fantasy book that's kind of a fan fiction or retelling of Harry Potter, so I unfortunately did not like this one either. I also gave it 2 stars. I read this for the prompt to read a book outside of my favorite genre, and fantasy is definitely that. I don't read a lot of fantasy ever, and I think that if I had the option to buy this book now, I would pass it up just because I know my reading tastes a little bit better now. Yeah, not my favorite book, but if you want more details on my thoughts, check out that vlog. And then we have Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This is a kind of sci-fi, a little bit fantasy book about 2 twins named Roger and Dodger who have this power where they can communicate with each other through their minds, and it's kind of about them growing up and exploring that power a little bit more, learning what it means. And then you also follow some alchemists who are trying to create twins to become gods, and it's a little convoluted. It's a pretty big book, so there's a lot in here, and I was super excited to read this book. I thought it sounded totally up my alley, but it ended up being just average. I thought it was quite long, quite boring in a lot of parts, and I was hoping for a little more focus on these twins and what they can do, and a little bit less of the history of the alchemists. So I didn't absolutely love it. Unfortunately, I gave it 3 stars. And then the last book that I read for my owls was Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. This is a thriller that follows a mom who had a 5-year-old son who was taken from her hands in the middle of like a crowded mall and kidnapped, and she wasn't able to find him, and it follows her 16 months later as she's still dealing with the disappearance of her son and dealing with some issues that she's having with her husband. I absolutely loved this book while I was reading it. It was super thrilling, super suspenseful. I really wanted to know what happened. Unfortunately, I thought the ending was a little predictable and just didn't shock me too much, so I did end up rating this 3 stars, but I would still recommend this to fans of thrillers, to fans of Jennifer Hillier. I haven't read any of her other books yet, but I plan to in the future. Then I only have 2 books left to talk about, so the next one is The Gracier by Kim Liggett, And this is a dystopian book about this society in which girls are taken, the year they turn 16, they're taken away for a year to live on their own and to kind of go through, you know, their transition into womanhood, separated from the society. And it's a little mysterious about what happens during that grace year and how they're coming back changed. And we follow this one girl, Tierney, as she turns 16 and goes on her grace year. I was really excited to read this one. It sounds like a really interesting premise and I've heard great reviews of it. I only rated it 3 stars. I think that the beginning of the book and the ending of the book were really strong, but the middle of the book got a little predictable. There's an unnecessary romance, I thought, and I just really didn't like reading about that part. And if I had written this book, I would have done it differently, but again, I know that a lot of people have really liked this book. If you like dystopian books and, you know, sort of feminist stories, coming of age stories, I really do think that you could enjoy this one, and so I would recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. And I listened to this on audio, actually, instead of reading it physically, and really enjoyed the audiobook, so definitely recommend that as well. And the last book that I read in April was called The Apartment by K.L. Slater, and this was a thriller. I read this through NetGalley. It's an ARC, and I believe it's already out. And this is a thriller that follows a mom and a daughter as they find this opportunity to move into an apartment building, and it turns out to not be quite what they think. Very mysterious. This gave me major Lock Every Door vibes by Riley Sager. If you've read that book and loved it, I definitely recommend this. It's different enough because, again, you're following a mom and a daughter instead of a teenage girl, and the things that happen in the apartment are a little different, but the vibes are very similar. It's still just as suspenseful, just as thrilling, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the ending was maybe a little bit rushed, and I would have enjoyed a little bit longer of a resolution, but otherwise it totally satisfied me, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So that's it for my April wrap-up. Kind of a quick one when they're all, you know, in reading vlogs and it's not so many books as my previous wrap-ups, but I'm very excited to get into May. I have some really fun books and videos planned. And otherwise, I think that's it. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.